I'm Khai, and to begin, I want to start off with a poem. Drifting in an ink-black void, barraged by riptides of eclipsing shadows, drowning from grief and pain, immersed by manifesting curses, casting down an abyss of desolation, consumed by sheer darkness. Imbue my heart, incarnate my hope, render my will, materialize as my flesh, clad onto my back, liberate me, my wings of freedom. I wrote this a long time ago, and I really like it because anybody can relate to it. When I sum it down to just 2 words, situation and resolve, that's what I mean when we can relate to the poem. I can look at you right now, eye to eye, cornea to cornea, and tell you that this will be our life put on replay. We all face situations, and those situations have their own outcome, and I like to call the outcome our resolve. There will be a time when we get stuck in a situation, when we don't know what to do, when we don't know how to get a resolve. And what I want to talk to you today is the in-between step. I describe the in-between step as guidelines on how and what to do in the situation you're in the situation you're stuck in, to find your resolve. And before I go further in depth with the in-between step, I want to share with you a story. My family asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? They want to know what my plans were in the future. And before I could answer them, I had to know, who am I? Because how could I know what I want to be in the future if I didn't know one speck of who I was? So I wanted to know everything, every little detail, and I overcomplicated everything to the point where I was so overwhelmed with knowing everything that I didn't know what to do. It wasn't until math class that I figured how to do something. The math class had to simplify this math problem. 2 divided by 3 plus square root of 5 over 2 divided by 4 plus square root of 2. And if you think that's confusing, you should take a look at my life, because that's how I overcomplicated everything. That's why I didn't know what to do. My teacher, Mr. Case, he said, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. And that was used so that we can solve that math problem. So a light bulb just popped in my head. I applied it to my life. I was trying to figure out everything all at once when I had a whole entire lifetime to figure out who I was. I figured out that I had to go step by step to know a little bit about myself, and knowing a little bit now will accumulate over my course of a lifetime. So I figured out what to do, but I really wasn't sure how to figure out who I was. So I came to a conclusion that I needed to get help. I went to my government teacher, Mr. Guelo, and I told him everything. And long story short, he said, go explore the world. And that made sense to me, because that's where I'm going to find myself. That's how I'm going to find myself. And the world I found was art. I didn't even know art was a world of itself until I actually talked to my teacher. So now, my resolve, I know a little bit about myself. I know I like to write. I know I like to draw. So I guess that makes me an artist. So heading back to the in-between step, I was able to come up with the guidelines because I went through the situation. I was stuck in that situation, and finally I found my resolve, and that's how I found the guidelines. So the guidelines is, you have to know what situation you're in, because once you know what situation you're in, it's easier to know what you want. So in that situation you're stuck in, what do you want your outcome to be? What kind of resolve do you want? Then, by knowing what you want, you can figure out what it is you have to do to get to your resolve. And finally, you actually have to do it. Knowing what to do, knowing what you want, and knowing the situation you're in doesn't even matter if you don't actually carry out and do it. So, do yourself justice And when you're stuck in a situation, use the guidelines of the in-between step to find your resolve. Thank you.